10 countries where $200,000 buys you a beachfront property. Hook. Most people assume that owning property near water requires serious wealth. The Mediterranean, the Pacific coast, the Caribbean islands, the Gulf of Mexico shoreline. These names conjure up images of turquoise water and price tags to match. A beachfront or waterside home in Western Europe or North America typically runs $500,000, $800,000, even well past the $1 million mark in popular resort areas. But that assumption only holds if you're shopping in the usual places. In 2026, $200,000 is still a genuinely viable budget for acquiring real estate near water, including in some surprisingly accessible countries. A handful of these are destinations that experienced expats have been quietly moving to for years. Others are closer to home than most people expect, with low property taxes, retiree-friendly legal structures, and lower overall costs of living than almost anywhere else in the developed world. The list ahead covers 10 destinations where your budget goes meaningfully further. Some are in Latin America, one is in the South Caucasus, one sits on the eastern edge of the European Union, and a few are right inside the United States. And as you'll see, the number one pick offers something the others genuinely cannot match when you weigh price, lifestyle, residency access, and long-term value together. Keep in mind, the figures presented here are approximations meant to give you a sense of the cost of living. Always verify with up-to-date sources before making any decisions. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10. West Virginia, United States. West Virginia sits in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, bordered by Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. It is consistently ranked as the state with the lowest property tax burden in the entire country, and its home prices reflect a market that most coastal Americans have largely ignored. Entry-level properties here range from roughly $130,000 to $200,000. That upper bound puts you squarely within the budget, and in many counties you are looking at a full single-family home, not a condo. Property taxes are noticeably low, and the state's income tax sits at a top rate of around 4.8%, with Social Security income fully exempt. For retirees drawing a pension or investment income, that is a genuinely favorable structure. The scenery is legitimately compelling. Rivers like the New and Greenbrier carve through forested ridgelines, and towns like Lewisburg have developed a quiet reputation among those who appreciate outdoor recreation and affordable real estate in the same package. Monthly living costs all in run roughly $1,600 to $2,400, which is low by any American standard. On the downside, population decline is real in many of West Virginia's rural counties. Outside of Morgantown and Charleston, urban amenities are limited, and winter ice events can make certain roads genuinely treacherous for months at a time. It is not a destination for those who want walkable cities or reliable public transport. Number 9. Paphos, Cyprus. Paphos sits on the southwestern coast of Cyprus, facing the Mediterranean, with a climate that delivers over 320 days of sunshine annually. It was designated a European Capital of Culture back in 2017, and it has long attracted British retirees in particular, given that English is widely spoken across the island as a legacy of its colonial history. Cyprus is a full EU member state, which matters for legal clarity and infrastructure standards. The non-domicile tax regime here is notably attractive for those with foreign-sourced income, and the island's healthcare system, while not universally praised, includes solid private options at costs well below Northern European equivalents. Entry-level property in the Paphos area runs from around $180,000 to $320,000. The lower end of that range gets you into the market, though beachfront or sea view properties push toward the upper band. Monthly living costs sit at roughly $1,400 to $2,100 all in, depending heavily on lifestyle choices and whether you rent or own. The permanent residency by investment pathway requires a minimum €300,000 property purchase plus proof of around €50,000 per year in passive income. That said, summer heat is a serious consideration. Temperatures regularly exceed 38 degrees Celsius from July through August, and the humidity along the coast can make the midday hours genuinely uncomfortable for those not accustomed to it. The island's political division, with northern Cyprus operating as a separate entity not recognized by the EU, also creates complications around property titles in certain areas. Research that carefully before committing. Number 8. Panama City, Panama. Panama City is the financial capital of Central America, and it operates on a distinctly different economic model from most of its neighbors. The official currency is the US dollar, which eliminates exchange rate risk entirely for American retirees. The city has first-world hospital access, a modern skyline, and a tropical climate that stays warm year-round. The Pensioner Do program is widely considered one of the strongest retiree benefit packages anywhere on Earth. A pension income of $1,000 per month qualifies you, and once the visa is in place, holders receive 25% off restaurant bills, 50% off hotel stays, 25% off airfare, and 20% off medical expenses. Panama also operates on a territorial tax basis, meaning foreign-sourced income is generally not taxed locally. Property in Panama City ranges from around $150,000 to $350,000 at the entry level, with the lower end covering apartments outside the premium Punta Pacifica and Marbella zones. Monthly all-in costs run approximately $1,500 to $2,300. For those who want ocean proximity without leaving the dollar zone, it is a serious contender. However, the city's humidity is relentless. It does not ease significantly between seasons. Traffic congestion is also genuinely severe during peak hours, particularly in the Miraflores and Via España corridors. And a note worth flagging, the Pensioner Do discounts only apply once the visa is formalized. Tourists do not receive those benefits at the point of purchase. Number 7. Alabama, United States. Alabama does not often appear on retirement shortlists, but the numbers make a reasonable case. The Gulf Coast strip around Mobile Bay and Gulf Shores offers waterfront access, warm winters, and a cost of living that is among the lowest along any American coastline. Huntsville, meanwhile, has grown considerably as an aerospace and technology hub, adding economic depth to a state that was largely overlooked a decade ago. Effective property tax rates in Alabama sit at around 0.41%, which is extraordinarily low. Social Security and most pension income is exempt from state income tax, and the top income tax rate is only 5%. Entry-level properties range from approximately $180,000 to $280,000. Monthly costs all-in come in at roughly $1,700 to $2,500, which for Gulf Coast waterfront access is a strong value proposition compared to Florida's equivalent markets. On the flip side, summer heat along the coast is intense, and the humidity does not break meaningfully until October. Tornado risk is a real and recurring concern across much of the state, not just the rural interior. Healthcare access is also uneven. In the Black Belt counties of central Alabama, rural medical infrastructure has deteriorated substantially, which matters for older residents who may need more frequent care. Number 6. Montevideo, Uruguay. Uruguay is consistently rated the safest country in Latin America, and its capital Montevideo sits along the Rio de la Plata with a long waterfront promenade, a well-functioning public transport system, and a political stability that genuinely distinguishes it from regional neighbors. It is a smaller country with a genuine four-season climate, which surprises visitors who assume all of South America is tropical. For those considering residency, Uruguay operates on a passive income basis with no legally fixed minimum, though roughly $1,500 per month tends to satisfy the case-by-case assessment. New residents also benefit from a significant tax holiday on foreign-sourced income that can extend 5 to 10 years. Entry-level property in Montevideo runs from around $150,000 to $300,000, and monthly living costs sit at approximately $1,500 to $2,300 all in. The honest caveat is that Uruguay is noticeably more expensive than its neighbors Argentina and Brazil, which can catch people off guard after reading general South American cost of living comparisons. Winters in Montevideo are genuinely cold and damp, with gray stretches from June through August. The country's small size also limits internal travel variety, which matters for those who enjoy extended regional exploration. Number 5. Tbilisi, Georgia. Georgia, the country in the South Caucasus rather than the American state, has become one of the most discussed relocation destinations among budget-conscious digital nomads and early retirees over the past several years. Tbilisi is the capital, a city of roughly 1.2 million with a striking mix of Persian, Soviet, and modern architecture, all set against the backdrop of the Greater Caucasus Range. What makes Georgia genuinely unusual is the visa structure. Citizens of over 95 countries can stay for a full year without a visa, which is rare globally and makes it one of the most accessible long-term trial destinations on this list. For those wanting to formalize their stay, property purchase or business registration provides a longer-term pathway. The individual entrepreneur tax scheme taxes sole proprietor income at just 1% for turnover under approximately $155,000, which has drawn location-independent workers from across the EU and North America. Property in Tbilisi runs from around $60,000 to $130,000 at entry level, and monthly all-in costs come to roughly $700 to $1,200. That is among the lowest on this list for a fully functional capital city. The food culture is exceptional and largely underappreciated outside the region. That said, Georgia is not an EU member and shows no clear pathway to membership in the near term. The border with Russia represents a genuine geopolitical risk, and outside of expat-heavy areas like Vake and Vera, daily life operates in Georgian script and, historically, Russian as a secondary language. That is a real adjustment for English-only speakers. Number 4. Oklahoma, United States. Oklahoma sits near the geographic center of the continental United States and offers some of the cheapest farmland in the country, ranging from around $1,800 to $2,400 per acre. The two main metros, Tulsa and Oklahoma City, have both grown noticeably over the past decade, adding economic and cultural infrastructure that makes Oklahoma a more compelling choice than its national reputation suggests. The tax profile is solid for retirees. Top state income tax sits at 4.75%, Social Security is exempt, and senior property tax freeze programs plus homestead exemptions reduce the effective burden further. Entry-level properties range from approximately $170,000 to $260,000. Monthly costs come in at roughly $1,700 to $2,500 all in, and there is no state estate tax, which matters for those thinking about long-term wealth transfer. On the downside, Oklahoma sits squarely in Tornado Alley. Severe weather events are a recurring reality from April through June, and the state's economic base remains heavily tied to oil prices, which introduces cyclical volatility. Summer heat is harsh, often exceeding 38 degrees Celsius for extended stretches, and the landscape offers limited mountain or coastal scenery for those drawn to natural variety. Number 3. Kentucky, United States. Kentucky is a state that rewards research. It spans two distinct landscapes, the rolling bluegrass region of the central and northern portions, and the rugged Appalachian foothills of the east. College towns like Lexington and Bowling Green offer the kind of infrastructure, healthcare access, and cultural programming that matter for those planning a long-term relocation. The income tax structure is clean and improving. Kentucky levies a flat 4% income tax, set to decline in coming years, and the first $31,000 of retirement income is fully exempt. Property taxes are modest. Farmland prices run from roughly $4,200 to $5,800 per acre, reflecting the state's agricultural reputation in the bluegrass corridor. Entry-level properties range from around $190,000 to $280,000, and monthly all-in costs sit at approximately $1,700 to $2,500. The bourbon country economy around Bardstown and Loretto has also created a minor tourism and hospitality infrastructure that adds genuine character to the region. Kentucky's central U.S. location means reasonable driving distance to Nashville, Cincinnati, and Louisville, which matters for those who want metropolitan access without metropolitan prices. However, rural decline in eastern Kentucky is pronounced. Broadband connectivity remains uneven in Appalachian counties, and the humid continental summers bring heat and heavy rainfall that can feel oppressive from June through August. Atlantic coast access requires a long drive. Number 2. Cluj-Napoca, Romania. Cluj-Napoca sits in the Transylvania region of northwestern Romania and has become one of Eastern Europe's most significant technology hubs over the past decade. It is the second largest city in Romania, with a major university generating a young, English-speaking population and a startup culture that has attracted serious European investment. Romania is an EU member state, which provides legal framework, healthcare access, and eventual freedom of movement for those who establish residency. The numbers here are compelling. Entry-level property in Cluj-Napoca runs from approximately $80,000 to $160,000. Monthly all-in costs sit at roughly $800 to $1,300, which is noticeably low for a city with this level of infrastructure and connectivity. Romania's flat income tax rate is 10%, and for those pursuing the digital nomad visa, the threshold is €3,950 per month in foreign income. A long-stay visa pathway also exists for retirees. For those considering property investment rather than primary residency, savvy buyers have already been moving into the Cluj market as prices in Bucharest have climbed. The window at these figures may not remain open indefinitely. On the downside, Romanian bureaucracy is genuinely heavy and can make the residency and property acquisition process slow and frustrating. Winters in Cluj are harsh, with reliable snowfall and temperatures that regularly drop well below freezing from December through February. Those seeking a warmer climate will need to look elsewhere. Number 1. Mérida, Yucatán, Mexico. Mérida is the capital of the Yucatán state on Mexico's Gulf Coast peninsula, and it has, by official statistics, consistently ranked as the safest large city in Mexico. That distinction matters enormously for those weighing the broader question of Mexico as a relocation destination. The city has a UNESCO-recognized colonial center, an established and growing expat community, and a private healthcare infrastructure that delivers quality care at a fraction of what the same treatment would cost in the United States or Canada. Entry-level property in Mérida runs from around $80,000 to $200,000. That upper bound comfortably meets the budget of this video, and at $200,000 you are looking at a substantial colonial-style home, often with a courtyard, high ceilings, and genuine architectural character in a neighborhood within reach of the centro. Monthly all-in costs run roughly $1,100 to $1,700, which is among the lowest figures for a city of this size and amenity level anywhere in this list. The residency structure is accessible. A temporary resident visa requires demonstrating approximately $3,000 per month in income or around $50,000 in savings. Permanent residency steps up to roughly $5,000 per month or approximately $200,000 in savings. The private medical system handles everything from routine care to specialist consultations at costs that consistently surprise North American arrivals. What sets Mérida apart from every other entry on this list is the combination: low property prices, established expat infrastructure, safety credentials that hold up under scrutiny, cultural depth that rewards long-term engagement, and proximity to the Caribbean coast via short drives to Progreso on the Gulf side and the Riviera Maya within a few hours. No other entry here packages all of those factors at this price point. The honest downside is the heat. April through September in Mérida is brutal, with temperatures regularly reaching 35 degrees Celsius combined with humidity that makes the real feel considerably higher. That is not a mild inconvenience, it is a significant lifestyle factor that anyone considering this city needs to spend time experiencing before committing. The other caveat worth noting: income thresholds for Mexican residency rose by approximately 30% in 2023, so the figures cited here reflect the updated requirements. Always confirm current thresholds before applying. OUTRO. And there you have it. 10 destinations where $200,000 remains a viable entry point for real estate in 2026, from the Appalachian Hills of West Virginia to the colonial streets of Mérida. The range here is genuinely wide: U.S. states with low tax burdens, emerging European cities with strong investment fundamentals, and Latin American destinations that combine affordability with lifestyle quality that would cost 3 or 4 times as much in Florida or California. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. We cover destinations like this every week, comparing costs, residency pathways, and real-world livability across the countries most people never think to research. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.